Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. It is Wednesday. I hope all of you are having a fantastic day wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. There are a lot of moving parts, all moving in a very positive direction as the United States and Europe, to a large extent as well, are getting major control over the coronavirus as the numbers continue to get better and better and better. The last couple of days, total new cases down substantially in the United States as the overall number of tests continues to increase, driving down the percentage of positive tests. It appears that New York has definitely peaked. We are close to a peak in New Jersey if we have not already peaked. We got lots of states opening up and getting back to normal. For whatever reason, there has never been a real outbreak outside of the New Orleans area around Mardi Gras anywhere in the South. And so I think you have to start, as you look at the data, to ask the question, is warm weather really that substantial of a hindrance to the coronavirus in general? Because other than the outbreak that happened in Louisiana, which seems directly connected to Mardi Gras, there's almost no outbreaks anywhere in the South. Nothing substantial in the larger context of the coronavirus. So I hope that's going to remain the case. Certainly it is the case right now, and we are starting to see a lot of signs of optimism in the world of sports as well. Right off the top here, let me hit you with this. Bobby Burack at Outkick the Coverage. We have hired several people at Outkick. They are starting to make their debut. If you haven't made Outkick.com, OutkickTheCoverage.com a part of your daily routine already, lots of good news going to be going up there. Lots of posts, lots of content on a regular basis. We're expanding. And one of the first stories to be broken there is that Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, with Tiger Woods alongside of Peyton Manning and Phil Mickelson alongside of Tom Brady, are going to play in Florida right now. It is scheduled for Memorial Day weekend in Florida, will air on TNT. So that is going to be pretty awesome for sports fans out there who have been craving a fun event. Again, Tiger versus Phil. Initially, they were talking about putting it on pay-per-view. They have instead decided to do it to raise money for charity. So Tiger versus Phil, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. It's Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning against Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady, scheduled right now for Memorial Day weekend in Florida, and will air on TNT. So that is going to be a lot of fun to see. I can't wait to watch. Again, breaking news from Bobby Burack at Outkick about that story. You can go read it up at the top of Outkick.com right now. But if you're craving some sort of new sports out there, that is one that I think everybody will be enjoying, and it should be a lot of fun to watch out. So you can go read that article. Bobby Burack at Outkick, one of our new writers coming on board at Outkick.com, at OutkickTheCoverage.com. I want to give credit to Mitch Daniels here. Mitch Daniels is the president of Purdue, and he was the first real president of a university I saw come out and aggressively say, we expect for our kids to be back on campus, and he referenced the data that is out there, which reflects that kids on college campuses are not in danger from the coronavirus. In fact, college kids are more in danger from the flu. Way more college-age kids have died, young kids have died from the flu this year than have died from the coronavirus. And I have to give credit for Mitch Daniels, the president of Purdue. When everybody was afraid, he stepped out and said, we plan on being back in the fall and having our students back on campus, and we'll make smart decisions about how to protect them. But from there, we have seen a cavalcade of additional schools come out and announce that they also are planning on being back in order, no particular order, I should say. Purdue, Miami, Iowa, Iowa State, Purdue, Nebraska, Missouri, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Washington State, all according to Dennis Dodd. Since that point, Georgia, Baylor, Texas Tech, and I believe Texas have all announced they plan on being back for the fall as well. Again, today, in recent history, Georgia, Baylor, Texas Tech, and Texas. You can add in whatever other schools in the comments, either on Facebook or on Periscope, you are hearing, but that have officially announced. But this is all a really good sign. The safest place in many respects for college kids to be is on a college campus. And so as we get ready, yes, Alabama has also announced, sorry, I left out Alabama. Alabama and LSU have also announced that they are coming back, that they are planning on returning for the fall. And that's why I believe anybody who is saying anything other than college football for the fall is going to happen is incorrect right now. The data all reflects that we are going to have college football in the fall, and more importantly, that college kids are going to be back on campus for the fall. And so every individual state has to make a decision. Every university has to make a decision along the way. But there are a lot of public institutions that are making a decision to go ahead and announce that their plan is to be back for the fall. And that is a smart decision. What also would be a smart decision is don't panic when some of the kids start testing positive for the coronavirus. Most of them are not going to even know that they have it. And the best people to gain herd immunity through are young and healthy kids. We should want young, healthy kids to get the coronavirus instead of elderly people. I think the most challenging thing about having kids back on college campuses is the challenge that might well ensue from in general when they go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Because what college kids are going to need to do, depending on how the outbreak goes in the fall and the winter, is keep themselves away from older people. And that'll be a decision that universities will have to make when it comes to older professors, janitors, those kind of things. But in terms of the kids themselves, they are not in danger. They aren't in danger from the coronavirus unless you consider them to be under substantial danger from the flu. And so you can't shut down all of life, okay? We can't just say, oh, some people are going to get sick, therefore the rest of the economy, we can't leave our homes. Colleges need to teach kids how to deal with risk. If your parents are out there and they say, oh my God, I don't want my kid to go back to school, they need to stay in the house, I'm sure there will be online learning options available somewhere, but I'm saying this as a father of 3, I would 100% very happily make the decision to send my kids to college right now. And this is not even a remotely difficult decision to make going forward. I want my kids are 12, 9, and 5. I want them back in elementary school. I want college kids to be back in school as well. If my kids were old enough to be in college, I would pick and prefer that they go to college as well. I want my kids back in school come August in the state of Tennessee where I live. I'm making the same decision for my kids that I would meet and make for everyone else out there. So I think this is a very positive direction that we are headed in general. Okay? A couple of other different facts here that I think matter in a big way. Stocks are on fire. I hope all of you listened to me when I gave you stock market advice. I said, look, this is, I believe, one of the greatest moments to buy stock ever in the history of the country. And if you go back and you watch these shows, you will know that I cited a quote. I said, Warren Buffett said, be greedy when others are scared and be fearful. Sorry, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. At 18,000 for the Dow, I told you that sports gambling stocks were a screaming buy. I told you that there was no way that sports gambling was going to end forever and that I expected for sports to be back in June and July. And for those of you who bought you haven't just made money in sports gambling. You've made money hand over fist. You have made years of gains in the stock market in the space of a month. And this is pretty phenomenal. I hope you listened to me. I put my money where my mouth was. As everybody else was running from the stock market, I told you that we were going to emerge from the coronavirus faster than most people realize, that sports were going to be back, that we were going to be able to bet on sports soon. And I put all my money where my mouth was, put every spare dollar that I had into the stock market. And now I feel like smoking a cigar and enjoying the beginning of May because I've made a ton of money. And I hope you have made a ton of money too. I don't tell you guys to do anything that I'm not doing. Sometimes that means we lose in sports gambling bets. I play every sports gambling bet I tell you guys to take. And I buy and have already usually bought, and I'm buying more of the stocks that I tell you guys to buy as well. And so there's a lot of people out there that are fearful, that are afraid to be brave and be bold in the face of fear. Your boy here told you exactly what to do. And there are a lot of Corona bros out there that in the comments, if you went back and read, you would love. They'd be like, oh, the stock market's going to 9,000. The stock market is going to 6,000 when it was at 18,000 and I was telling you guys to buy. The Corona bros were in the comments and they were in my Twitter feed and they were like, man, the market is collapsing. It's going to go to 6,000. It's about to hit 25,000. All right? Everybody panicked over the coronavirus and you looked at the data and you knew that it wasn't going to be the end of the world. Sports were going to return. Eventually people were going to gamble on sports again. And honestly, if there aren't fans present, there's probably going to be more sports gambling than ever before. My home state of Tennessee is going to have sports gambling online. I can't wait. Your boy's going to be a big part of that. We're expanding Outkick. There are a lot of really positive things headed in this direction right now, but I hope you listen to me about buying stocks. How about Jameis Winston? Jameis Winston signed a contract with the New Orleans Saints, who are giving $16 million guaranteed to Taysom Hill. They gave Jameis Winston less than $1 million guaranteed. Jameis Winston came out and said, and I got to give him credit, he admitted that he was never able to really see. He said that he got LASIK surgery, and Jameis said he can now read license plates and street signs that he couldn't read as well before, said it helps with blurriness, depth perception, and clearer vision. Jameis Winston got a $148,000 signing bonus, a $952,000 base salary. Last year, he made over $20 million, and that's pretty wild to think about how much of a difference we have seen from Jameis Winston so far, just based on his ability to see. We'll find out whether or not he plays. But taking $955,000 to play football this year is a sign of how weak, in general, the market was for Jameis Winston and how weak the market may be for Cam Newton, how weak the market may be for Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, and other quarterbacks who are veterans that really there aren't a lot of spots for. So we'll see exactly what ends up happening. But Jameis Winston going from $20 million plus to under $1 million guaranteed, $955,000. But he did get LASIK surgery, and he expects to learn from Drew Brees and the Saints coaching staff. And maybe he can have a Ryan Tannehill-like resurgence. If Drew Brees gets hurt, Jameis Winston would get to come in. We would see whether or not he can limit the interceptions. He'll compete with Taysom Hill, I would think, if Drew Brees decides to retire, as to who will be the next quarterback of the New Orleans Saints going forward. But Taysom Hill got $16 million, which is a big endorsement for him overall. All right, I believe that is, Batard. Dan Batard is going to war with the New York Post right now. Did you guys see the report about the New York Post radio situation at ESPN? The New York Post reported earlier this week that Dan Batard's show is on its way out at ESPN because his bosses are not particularly fond of his show. It didn't cite any sources. Batard fired back. You can go hear his audio at Outkick. Ryan Glasspeagel, one of the guys that I have hired to write at Outkick with the data, the details on the Dan Le Batard being upset with that story in the New York Post and saying that he was told it was not true. And so, look, I like Le Batard. I think he's a smart guy. Certainly, he said as a part of his discussion that he cares way more about having First Amendment protections on his radio show, being able to say whatever he wants, than he does about money as a radio guy. I appreciate that. I know the importance of having bosses that you can trust. I love my bosses at Fox Sports Radio, and I trust them implicitly. But it sounds like somebody's trying to cut the legs out from under Dan Le Batard. Will Kane also, according to that same article, as well as to the Washington Post, is leaving to go to Fox News. So Will Kane is leaving his radio show at ESPN. And so all of the ESPN radio show is in an uproar right now because they're talking about doing away with Dan Le Batard in that article. Will Kane is leaving. Stephen A. Smith has already left their radio network. And honestly, a big part of what is going on here is Fox Sports Radio, we're killing them. I mean, honestly. And I'm not even trying to be cocky about this. Fox Sports Radio right now has me, and you know I think I'm pretty awesome. They have me to start off the day from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Then they got Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick, pretty successful dude. Then they go to Colin Cowherd. Pretty successful guy, Colin Cowherd. Then they go to Doug Gottlieb. That's a murderer's row from 6 to 6. And then they've added to it from 6 to 8. They have a really good show, The Odd Couple, with Rob Parker and Chris Broussard. All of that, I believe I got the math right there. That is from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And then they've got RJ Bell. There's a lot of really good stuff out there from Fox Sports Radio. And it's frankly the best, I think, national radio lineup that has ever existed. I think Don Martin and Scott Shapiro deserve credit for putting that in place. And ESPN is trying to figure out how to compete. And the truth of the matter is, there's not a lot of talent. There's not a lot of talent out there where it's easy to find to plug in and be able to do hours and hours of live daily radio. So this is an interesting move. I don't blame Dan Le Batard for firing back on his radio show. If people write negative articles about me, certainly involving my radio program, I would be inclined to fire back on the radio as I have done before as well. So all of that makes a lot of sense. So I think this is a big part of ESPN understanding that they're getting whipped pretty solidly by Fox Sports Radio and trying to figure out what they're going to do to fill all the holes in their daily programming. But that is for them to decide. Go read the article. Ryan Glasspiegel did a good job at Outkick writing it up. Again, I want to reemphasize, we are hiring and growing in a big way at Outkick. People have been asking for a while, how come you don't employ more writers? Well, boom. We're employing more writers. We're adding more. And by the time we roll into the summer, we're going to be a content-generating machine at Outkick. So make sure if you've stopped checking Outkick on a regular basis, we're going to be deluging you with content on a regular basis, again, at Outkick.com. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. I think I talked about everything under the sun here. Again, if you're just tuning in, breaking news from Outkick, Tiger Woods plus Peyton Manning going head-to-head with Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady, scheduled for Memorial Day weekend in Florida, will air on TNT. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP, my name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Look forward to it. Kisses. See y'all. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.